aka Miss WC Reader, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my January mid-month wrap-up. January seems to be both going slow but speeding ahead at the same time. So far I finished 5 books during the month, and I really wanted to talk to you guys about them. So January hasn't exactly been my best reading month per se. I haven't really read like a lot of I haven't had that 5-star read yet, but I'm still hopeful that it's going to happen. So let's just get right into it. I read The Secret Dead Club by Karen Strong. Karen Strong's first book, Just South of Home, I loved that book. I thought it was such a well done middle grade story. It was set in the South. It had a lot to do with family, with these cousins bonding. It touched on history, but in a way that children would be able to understand and not feel ashamed. It was so well done. I didn't really love Eden's Everdark, and sad to say, I didn't love The Secret Dead Club either. In theory, The Secret Dead Club sounded really cool. Like, you have this girl named Wednesday. I don't love that name. Right off the bat, like, she's Wednesday because of the Addams Family character, and like, oh, my mom loved like the movie back in the day. I feel like she only named her Wednesday because of the show Wednesday trending, and she felt like that would connect with the kids. It just felt a little try hard to me, to be honest. And so her name is Wednesday. She calls her mom by her first name all the time, which also was like, what? Where they do that at? And directly after the first time she calls her mom by her first name, we get this long explanation of how she's always done that. Her mom is a cool mom. Yeah, like, black people don't usually do that, but her mom is different, and she can't imagine just calling her mom. Like, her mom tries to be the cool mom because her parents are divorced, and that whole thing felt try hard too. I cringed every time I saw her calling her mom by her first name, because I'm just like, where do they do that at? That feels like that new parenting style that I don't agree with. But anyway, you have this girl, new school, is really nervous about making friends. She also has the power to see the dead. It's something that runs in her family, and as you grow older, you lose the ability, and they're not sure why. So she's seeing ghosts. House across the street is haunted. And there's a group of girls at her school who have this thing called the Secret Dead Club, where they seem to know a lot about ghosts. There's also like this mysterious, death of a friend, and like, it's a whole thing. While the book was very fast paced, I don't know, I guess kind of felt disconnected. And I didn't really enjoy it. Like, things were happening, but it felt a lot more like tell than show. This is Wish of the Wicked by Danielle Page. So I picked this back up because I've had this sitting on my shelf for 2 years now. I was supposed to read it in 2023, and I started, but like in fall of 2023, my dad ended up passing away. That was around the same time I was going to read this book, so I was having trouble like reading around that time too. I just kind of threw myself into my writing, and a lot of stuff I was reading, like, it was going in one ear and out the other. I was looking at it, and like it wasn't clicking for me. So I had read the first 2 chapters of this, and they felt exactly the same because it was repeating the same events. Like, you were seeing literally the same event in both chapters. So I ended up putting it down because I'm like, I don't really care. I'm like, I'll revisit it when I'm in a different headspace. So flash forward to, I had put in a library request for the audiobook, and it came in at the end of 2024, like the last couple of days before. So I'm like, okay, you know what, I'll pick it back up and read it for 2025. And once I got past the initial like first 2 chapters, things were going pretty well. So this is supposed to be a fairy godmother origin story, and we follow Pharaoh. She is a part of the, oh my gosh, I don't even remember what this group's name is. It's something with an E. But she's a part of this group of like fairy godmothers. They consult for the royal family. Well, the royal family ends up turning on them, and the queen basically kills everybody. So there was like a spell put on Pharaoh where she was protected, and years later she's grown up in this orphanage and she's now powerless. But she still wants revenge on the queen. So she starts training to essentially become the prince's concubine as a part of her plan to kill the queen. If it just stuck with that plot, it would have been chef's kiss. Like, I ate that section up. Like, it was dark. I loved the whole revenge of it all. Some of the scenes were uncomfortable, but no. Shortly after she gets there and is like ready to do the thing, she ends up leaving the palace. So I'm like, what was the point of this? And from there, the book just lost its steam and meandered. And I kept like waiting as she's discovering like there is an underground group of her people who she thought was dead who are organizing their revenge plot. And, you know, Cinderella eventually comes in and is going to be a part of the plan, and I didn't love that either. Like, it just really ended up falling flat. I feel like if she would have stuck to that whole, like, prince, concubine, revenge plot, like, I know that was, like, a more original story, but it was good. Once, like, we got into the morality of it all, and we started being into, like, her being back with her family, it just went downhill. Plus, this was a queendom, but damn near every woman in the book was a terrible person, while the guys were all sweet and innocent and just caught up in the web of these horrible women. I was like, wait, what? So yeah, I didn't love that. This is my second Daniel Page read, because I read The Ravens, which was a series she co-authored. Why I wanted to pick this up was because in The Ravens, I feel like the best parts of that book were her parts. But unfortunately, this just really didn't work for me. Now, there is a black soap opera coming to CBS in February called Beyond the Gates. She is a writer on that show because, in case you didn't know, in addition to being a best-selling YA author, Daniel Page is also a longtime soap opera writer. I want to say she wrote on Guiding Light and a couple of other ones. So I thought that was pretty cool because I used to love soap operas as a kid. Like, I was a Passions girly in like 7th and 8th grade. That was my show. And then I was like watching General Hospital, and I watched One Life to Live for a little bit, but never really got into it. Watched Guiding Light for a little bit, again, never really got into it. I watched Young and the Restless, like, on and off. Even in college, like, I would start watching it. Like, my roommates from, like, a certain time in college should remember, like, me every day, 12:30, parked in front of the TV in between classes. So I haven't watched soap operas in a good while now, like more than 5 years, just because they're like, it isn't being like outdated. Like, a big issue with them has always been lack of diversity, and as we've gone, you know, further into the world, it's just been less diversity on these shows. And there's a lot of great actors that have come out of these shows, but they were on those shows like getting diddly squat. So I'm actually really excited to see a black soap opera emerge. So I will be supporting Danielle in that way and tuning into Beyond the Gates. The Night Ward by Arce Garcia. So this is one that I was supposed to read for months now, and I finally ended up starting it at the very end of December, and it was kind of dense, so it did take me a good while to finish reading it. I compare this to like a Caribbean inspired Game of Thrones in that there's all these moving pieces, like different characters, different POVs, different groups out for their own agenda. So it starts off by um, this coup happening, like at this royal party. The queen ends up dead. Um, the future queen, her daughter, ends up on the run with her older bodyguard. Her daughter is like a very little girl, so like she's not even ready to rule yet, but the whole world is placed on her shoulders essentially. So I was actually really enjoying that. That was more of like a journey story because they're like running to safety. So we're following Princess Viella and her much older bodyguard Lucas. And then along the way, he meets some female warriors who are helping him protect the new queen. If we would have just stuck to their story, I would have loved it a lot. But like I said, there's all these different groups coming into play, and I didn't really find myself interested in all of their stories. Like I like the stuff with the river maidens. I did like that we got to see some of the stuff with the villains and their motivation, but it was a lot of characters to keep track of. A lot of characters to keep track of, and like wait a minute, who is that? What's going on? And by the end, I just felt a little overwhelmed. So while it was an interesting story, I'm not sure if I want to continue or not, just because I don't usually love these types of epic fantasies where there's just so many different people that we're following. Like, especially for the first book, I think it's best to just be following a couple of people and maybe like ease your way in. Like that we were following so many different characters and it was hard to keep straight, and then some of the ones that I liked ended up dying. I don't know. As You Wish by Nashe Jones. So finding good middle grade books is very difficult. I feel like a lot of people read Amari and the Night Brother, and that's like basically the only middle grade they read, and they're like, middle grade is so great, it's having a moment, like they're really telling the stories there. And I'm just like, a lot of the middle grade written right now is more written to the adult reader than the kids. Like, we all know about the literacy crisis. The kids are more into electronics, like they're playing their Roblox and whatever other games they're playing. They're on their phones, they're scrolling the TikTok for now. And it's very hard to get them engaged with a lot of these stories. And I don't even blame them because a lot of the stories are very dense. Like they're lots of pages. I have an 11-year-old niece who plays sports every weekend. Sometimes my mom and I like do carpool duties and have to take her to some of these sporting events. And so once she's done with her sports and stuff, she doesn't want to have to sit down and read these books unless they really can truly grab her attention and kind of take her away from the phone for a little bit. I found some success in shorter chapter books, like that have like a more horror, like mythology twist to them. And I found success with graphic novels since they're a little bit easier to digest. But getting an 11-year-old to read a 300 something or 400 something odd page book is just a lot. So I'm always on the hunt for just things that are engaging so that I can share, and dynamic characters. And I really feel like Nashe Jones did that here. We are following Birdie here. It's a nickname for Bernadette. She really has a voice, like a distinct voice, which is something I found really difficult to find in the Black middle grade that I've been reading. Like, she feels like a real character. She's funny, she's witty, she's dealing with the stresses of middle school. This year she's decided she wants a boyfriend for the first time. She's in 8th grade, so that's around the age that a lot of girls are getting their first boyfriend. And she sees like her cousin Erin, who is a character from a previous book Nash A. Jones wrote. You don't have to read that one to read this one, but her cousin Erin has a boyfriend. Her classmates have a boyfriend. She has a little bit of a rivalry with a girl in her class. She has an overprotective mother. So there's just a lot she's dealing with. She tells her best friend Deve that she wants to have a boyfriend, and he just freaks out and she doesn't understand why. And he gets really mad at her. It causes this big fight. Well, shortly after that, she meets this new girl named Nancy, and Nancy reveals herself to be the trickster goddess Anansi. Birdie's grandmother's family is from Ghana, so she's like, I owe your family a debt. Your grandmother knows about it, and I'm going to give you 3 wishes. Birdie decides, let me go ahead and take my wishes and create the life that I want. And she soon finds out that wishes aren't what they seem. You got to be very careful and very precise in what you wish for. And you just shouldn't trust a trickster goddess. So, it was interesting to see Anansi, who is a male, god, and he's referred to as a male god in these sequences at the beginning of the chapters that show him meeting with different people in the past and offering them wishes. But then here he comes as the form of this girl who is causing all this trouble at the middle school. I thought this was very well done. I like the length. I feel like it's very accessible, which is also a big thing that I kind of harp on with middle grade, because I live in a city that's not known for their high literacy rate, and it's a lot of Black and Latinx children in my school district who don't get to be seen often in books, and then even a lot of the books that are supposed to be for them, the vocabulary is too high and the word count is too much for them. So I love that this one is shorter, it's very fast paced, and these just feel like real teens. And this is also great for that, 5th and 6th grade audience specifically. So I like that Simon & Schuster is targeting them specifically, because at that age, you want to start reading these slightly older than yourself characters who are getting into teenage shenanigans. I know at least at that age, I had a lot of stuff I was reading that did that, the first crushes and boyfriends and school dances and all that fun stuff that we don't always see enough of. And I feel like middle grade is dominated by these 11-year-old characters, and sometimes those characters even read just a little bit younger than their age. So it's cool to have these types of characters who were new teens and were messy. So I read The Doggy Defendant. It is a part of Judge Kim and the Kids Court series. It is a beginner reader graphic novel, so those kids who are newly independent reading around age 6 to 8, which fits a couple of my nieces. They're in their non-reader eras right now, and they're on that picture book level, not fully moved up into chapter books. I think these types of stories would actually be great to hold their attention, because it's a different format too. There's something unique about that graphic novel comic book format that kids really like and enjoy, so I think this is really good for them to engage with. It introduces them to new vocabulary words and a little bit of mystery, because in this one we are following Kim and her brother. They get invited to this rich boy's birthday party, and things seem to be going well, and then like their dog is there, a ruckus happens, their dog gets blamed, and they don't think that their dog actually did it, so they have to prove his innocence. So it was really cute. I borrowed it from the library just to see what it read like before I bought it. Shout out to the Free Library of Philadelphia for coming through. And yeah, I think I'm gonna buy a copy now because it is perfect for an 8-year-old reader. So those were all the books that I read during the month of January so far. Have you been reading a lot this month, or have you been slowly easing into your reading year? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you like this video, make sure and hit that like button. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!